What's up, my friends in film fandom, wherever you may be and however you may be watching? Thank you so much for giving us just a little bit of your time. Into the 90s we go. We've started. The 9th month is all about the number 9. We're going to the 90s. Jeremy's breadbasket, the place that gave us Grim Tuesday, the decade that gave us the man himself. We're going to break down some of the coolest movies we've seen out of that decade, starting with one of the better ones that has stood the test of time. As I was watching it again the other day, man, this movie really holds up. It's everything an action movie needs to be. But we'll go into that in a second. Here to talk about this movie with me is, of course, my great cast, starting with the Dowager Countess Lady Cora. What's going on with you tonight, ma'am?
I'm good, and I take the skin off my chicken, sir. It's a life movie.
Like, why? That's where the flavor's at, for Christ's sake. That's where the flavor's at. And of course, my hetero life mate, Jeremy. What's up, brother?
Oh, not a whole lot. I mean, I guess I just have to ask you all: have any of you ever fired your gun up in the air and gone ah? So I know Keanu certainly has.
Keanu sir has in a big way too. Boy, so let me ask you this, Jeremy: did it take as long to take the makeup off your face last night as it took to put it on?
Well, if you were watching last night and you're now comparing to me today, I went in with more, and I have now been sitting here with considerably less. So, I don't know. I didn't have any baby oil to take it off. I think I sat there ripping it, and then I thought, I don't know, maybe I should use a makeup wipe. And then it kind of just rolled off, and I'm like, well, I should have done that in the first place. But, oh well, this it'll grow back, and it's fine. I will always forever be a part of the Apache tribe. So that's
Vitamin E oil will help your skin regenerate.
Don't worry about it. They'll grow back.
Yeah, it'll come back. It's fine. Although I mean, I don't know this
Frank?
Monday nights. I'm fantastic. New job's going well and making good money. So, there's on into the wintry months. This is going to be a complicated way. It's been a complicated year by far, as many of you know.
And you shouldn't have to move again anytime soon. Let's hope. So,
the last probably year or so has been a very complicated year. So I'm happy to be done with 2023 when the ending rolls around, and 2024 hopefully. Things will come. It's honestly, since the beginning of COVID, it's been an interesting time for all of us, really. I think the last 3 years. So hopefully we're done with that nonsense and we can all just get back to movies. Hopefully the strikes will go away soon. Back to just lots of movies coming out, and there's still a few in the pipe that are going to be coming. Yes, there's still a few in the pipe that are coming, but we don't know if release schedules are going to get upended again if these strikes end up going on longer. So fingers crossed
that I am so happy Loki season 2 got through before this shit started. I would have been so mad.
I'm actually glad they pushed it back a little bit because they pushed it back a little bit. The guys will be done with Monday Night Saw, and I think that it'll be because I think it's the end of October or somewhere near the end of October that's coming out now. I haven't. I just know they pushed it. I don't know the initial date, but hopefully we'll be able to do those breakdowns a little more timely, and the schedule won't be as packed. So hoping to, but if not, I mean, whatever. I'm sure me and Jeremy will come on here and at least do a season breakdown because I'm pretty sure both me and Jeremy are going to be watching that series.
Oh, I'm going to be watching it too. So if you want a third, I'll be happy to.
Oh no, I don't have a cosplay that I have worn on more than one occasion for this. So.
Yeah, have you ever dressed up as Loki ever in your life, Jay? Ever?
No, never.
Even like a helmet, anything?
No, never.
There's no evidence that you've ever dressed like Loki at all, ever in the world on the internet.
Oh my gosh! Amadeus, President Loki. I just
it's really sad. It's like, look, we're luckily not too big on the internet.
I will say this, Jeremy. You haven't done the alligator one yet. You need an alligator head with the suit on.
No, I have an alligator. I've had an alligator.
Okay.
Yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah.
Not the head, not the whole head apparatus, but
I mean the whole head. Like, get an alligator mask on Amazon.
Oh, you want me to just be the whole alligator? Okay.
Yeah.
No, no, I was gonna say it's like
ambitious,
luckily
but I
I'm
think you can
not.
pull it off.
I'm not of. I know it's a joke, but it's like, yeah, but there are people that seem to really understand that cosplay, and they maybe ironically or unironically would be like, yeah, I'd vote for that guy, and I'm like, I'm not of age to do that, but it's gonna be scary when I get to that age, and I still am dressing up like President Loki, and I'm like, please don't write me in on the ballot. And Frank
45's not
knows
that far away. Or
it's
is it
35.
35, Frank? I don't
35.
remember.
Oh, it's closer than you think. 35. So
Okay.
I won't get into the next one, but the one after. So I'm gonna squeak right on in there. And Frank knows this damn state, you'll do some really dumb write-ins. So please don't do that to me. It's gonna be a joke, and then it's not gonna be. So
Till one day they're like, wait a minute, how the hell did Loki get elected president of the United States?
Oh man.
One day if that ever happens. But let's get down to what we can talk about. Lady Cora, tell us a little bit about the movie that we're going to be breaking down tonight.
Sure. Point Break is a 1991 American crime action film directed by Kathryn Bigelow and written by W. Peter Iliff. It stars Patrick Swayze, Keanu Reeves, Lori Petty, and Gary Busey. The film's title refers to the surfing term point break, where a wave breaks as it hits a point of land jutting out from the coastline. The film features Reeves as an undercover FBI agent who is tasked with investigating the identities of a group of bank robbers while he develops a complex relationship with the group's leader. Development of Point Break began in 1986. Bigelow soon developed the script with husband James Cameron, and filming took place 4 years later. It was shot across the western coast of the continental United States, and it was officially budgeted of $24 million. Point Break opened to a generally positive critical reception, and critics praised the relationship between Reeves and Swayze. During its theatrical run, the film grossed over 103.5 million and has since gained a cult following. Following the film's success, it spawned a remake that was released in 2015. In Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rating of 70% based on 73 reviews, with an average rating of 6.1 out of 10. The website's critics' consensus reads, quote, absurd, over the top, and often wildly entertaining. Point Break is Point Break is here to show you that the human spirit is still alive, end quote.
It most certainly is. Also, I forgot to mention that Tex is not here tonight, but that's because he got caught up at work. We are looking forward to having him back here tomorrow as we go through all the fancy football talk as well. Plenty to talk about from week 2 of the NFL. But yeah, I mean, I'll start with how I usually do. Let's give a quick paragraph, our overall thoughts of the movie. I'll start with you, Lady Cora. I know this is kind of a favorite of all three of us. I mean, can you say anything bad about the movie? Just give us some quick thoughts.
I don't like it. I mean, it has its merits. But first of all, I have to disclose, I really do not like Gary Busey. I do not vibe with his acting. Like I said, everybody has somebody like. Some people hate Scarlett Johansson's acting. I hate Gary Busey. Not the person, just something about him reminds me maybe of somebody in my family. I don't know. Maybe I need to talk to a therapist. Who knows? But other than that, Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze, fantastic eye candy. Love the surfing vibe. I will say this. There's a show that came out on TBS a few years back. It just ended 18 months ago called Animal Kingdom. This movie is so much like that show. Surfers who are a criminal little gang. And it just, so watching it again reminded me of that. So clearly this movie has inspired people because it pretty much seems like the bare bones of a TV series I loved recently. I'll give it credit. I mean, it's well written, the acting's good, the pacing's nice. I even like the musical score. I just didn't. It was a little too heavy on the cop stuff for me. But overall, I get why it's on the list of movies we're talking about and have an iconic place, in the 90s movies. But I really didn't like it.
Well, Jeremy, how about you? Like I said, this is one film that you and I both agree is one of the better films that has come out in our lifetimes. Give us some quick thoughts on Point Break.
Well, not quite my lifetime. It's slightly older than me, but very close. Yeah, I know you and I can sit here like Nick Frost and Hot Fuzz and just gush over this movie all day, I couldn't help it. As soon as that scene came up, I'm just sitting there like, like Nick Frost in the chair, like waiting for it. There it comes. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I know I was thinking more of all this stuff we're doing for the 90s, and I'm like, man, we're just going Keanu heavy. We did The Matrix, we're doing Point Break, and in my mind, I'm like, God, I want to do Speed now. Holy crap, man. So much good shit. And like, this is one of those ones in the 90s that's just, it's got action. I mean, yeah, like she said, it's got the cop drama, and you know, even though it's before Gary Busey like completely lost his fucking mind, I mean, he's still fun. You can't tell me when he like, you know, right before he punches Dr. Cox in the face, he tells him, he's like, hey man, I was doing this shit and you're popping zits off your funny face. You know, I'm like, how do you not laugh? Yeah, and obviously it's Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze. I mean, do I need to say anything else? I mean, it's holy crap. You get those two guys together in a room or on a surfboard and you got some magic. The thing that this movie reminds me of is this and Heat, also another very good 90s movie. This reminds me of the video game Payday, because I'm like, that's definitely, you know, you go in as bank robbers. There's like 4 of you. You all dress up in these like ridiculous masks, and I think there are actually those 4 masks, if not a couple of them. And one of the missions is called Dead Presidents, so it's close. Like I know it's got its inspiration there for sure.
Yeah, I totally get what Cora was saying about Gary Busey. I love Gary Busey personally. I think his personality on screen is just really fun. I mean, and I've seen him a couple different kinds of movies. He seems to make it work. A colorful individual, yeah, you can say that. But I mean,
Gary Busey.
Yeah. but obviously, Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves, the only 2 people in the 90s that were sexier than me. I mean, look,
you can't even compete with that. Like that, even that thumbnail, that's like the movie post. You can't even. I mean, come on. God damn! Yeah, I wish I could rock a mullet like that.
This.
Right.
Yeah, look at this. I mean, that's peak 90s. that's peak 90s right there. The 90s peaked early, but yeah, it's kind of a typical heist film in a way, but they do explore the complicated relationship, as Cora was mentioning earlier, between the 2 characters a little more deeply, and it does make it a bit more interesting. I mean, for one, you have exotic locales that are fun to look at. People who, you know, grew up in California like I did on the West Coast or in a beachy area look at that and are, you know, they love the way it feels just to be in a beachy place. People that aren't from there love to just watch the beachy stuff anyway. And then you've got Patrick Swayze, who already was a giant star. I mean, we're only talking a couple years after you know, Dirty Dancing. This is shortly after. I think this was the first movie he did after Ghost. So, yeah. I mean, so he was already just a huge megastar. And then you factor some other people. I mean, Tom Sizemore in an uncredited role, John C. McGinley. This was years before Scrubs, which I think is his magnum opus by far. But I mean, he's been around movies as a character actor for a long time. The Rock with you know, Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there was plenty of good performances in there. Yeah, plenty of good performances in here, and I think this is Lori Petty, right around the time A League of Their Own came out. I think it was shortly before League of Their Own came out, just a couple years before. So I mean, Lori Petty was kind of Lori Petty was kind of on her way up. So yeah, a lot of really great talent in this movie against an exciting setting. And then you have some great character work done as well, especially with Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze. But, you know, let's get into the meat and potatoes of all this first. I mean, let's talk about Kathryn Bigelow as a director first. I mean, she doesn't have a huge body of work, but the body of work she has is very, very interesting. She's done movies like Blue Steel with Texas' favorite actress, you know, from Halloween. Then she did Point Break immediately thereafter. Then she did a movie called Strange Days, which a lot of people didn't like, but it hasn't turned into a cult movie, but I think people have kind of watched it differently, and there's like, wait, but this movie is probably a little better than we gave it credit for. Then she did K-19, The Widowmaker, which I think is one of the underrated Harrison Ford films. It's very, very long, yes, but it's actually very exciting. If you've seen it, you know. Then more recently, she did Zero Dark 30, which won a couple of Oscars, and then she did Detroit, which was then she did Detroit, which is a very well received film. Again, married to James Cameron for about 15 minutes, or in Hollywood time anyway, for about 3 years. So obviously, putting together a film kind of rubs off on you a little bit when you're spending any time around James Cameron. I don't know. I'll go to you first, Jeremy. Some of your thoughts on Kathryn Bigelow as a director and some of her feature films.
I personally have not seen any of her other films. I meant to see Zero Dark 30 and I haven't. I'm looking at the list of her work. I haven't. I'm embarrassed to say, I guess, seen any of these other movies that she's directed myself. So I can't say anything.
Yeah, K-19 is actually on Tubi. So you can watch that but again, that movie is 3 hours long. It is long. But Jeremy, what are some of your thoughts on Kathryn Bigelow as a director?
I'm in the same boat as Cora. I'm not really sure I've seen as many. I did mean to also see Zero Dark 30, but I haven't yet. But if you say it's free, why not give it a watch. I saw Cameron's name pop up and I kind of remembered. I'm like, was he the producer of this movie?
Cameron actually helped her with some of the writing. I think she had
okay.
I think she had done a lot of story stuff while they were married, and he kind of helped her shepherd this along a little bit. But okay, I don't think he has an official credit for this film. But she did say that he had helped her kind of build the story a bit.
And this is also that's when T2 came out, right? It was 91?
92?
Was it 92? Maybe. Hold on.
Right around that time.
I think it's 91. Hold on.
Terminator 2 came out in
91. I still got it, baby. 91.
91, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's I don't know. It's I saw James Cameron's name and I was like, this has a weird it's the 90s action kind of feel that you get from something like T2 that I kind of noticed. Like when you're watching a Michael Bay film, like, oh yeah, I know this is Michael Bay, and damn, why is this hour-and-a-half movie 3 hours long? Because fucking Zack Snyder put about every scene is in slow motion. You know what I mean? Like, you know whose movie you're watching when you see it. So, that's kind of the vibe I got from this movie.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Kathryn Bigelow's body of work is not big, but I mean, Blue Steel I remember seeing years ago. Obviously, Point Break is a great movie. Strange Days is one that has developed a little more of a following. People understand a little different now. I actually watched K-19, The Widowmaker, a couple of weeks ago, just on a whim. And I mean, Harrison Ford and Liam Neeson. I mean, it's
I just looked this up, Frank. She not only she directed, she wrote Blue Steel.
Yes.
So that's impressive, writing and directing. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, and like I said, K-19, The Widowmaker, it's Harrison Ford and Liam Neeson, which is basically this movie with actors that are 30 years older. but yeah, that's a fantastic movie. And Zero Dark 30, a great movie. I mean, it won a couple of I think she actually won the Oscar for Best Director for that film as well as I think that film won the Oscar for Best Picture. I know it won a couple of the big ones. And then Detroit, which obviously was a huge movie when it came out. Probably about 8 years ago or so, talking about some of the stuff going on in the inner city of Detroit, things like that. But yeah, I mean, she definitely is a great filmmaker. I'm actually kind of disappointed that she doesn't have a bigger body of work. I noticed that she had a couple films that were kind of in the works. I think one of them was kind of a almost documentary thing more than a feature film. She's only got one other feature.
There's one called Aurora in development.
Yeah, she's got a couple of things, but I'm really disappointed that, because Detroit came out. Oh, when did Detroit come out? I forgot to write down.
17.
Yeah, it's been a few years since.
You know what though? Maybe she's one of those people in Hollywood that really cares about her personal life more and just works here and there.
It's fair enough. That's fair enough. And she's probably made a decent chunk of change. I mean, she also does other things. I think she also teaches. She does some other stuff. So she doesn't necessarily need this to do this for a living. So she can be a bit more choosy about the creative projects that she gets involved with. But yeah, I think she's been a very good director. So many of these movies in this list. She also wrote and directed the very first movie that Willem Dafoe was in back in 1981.
Oh shit. Okay.
It was called Loveless or Lovey or something like that. I forget what it was, but it was Willem Dafoe's first feature film role.
Oh,
which is pretty interesting. So she gave us
in
part Willem Dafoe.
That's fair.
Wow.
Which
my gosh,
we thank
he
her
looks
for
so young.
because we love Willem Dafoe.
He looks like a James Dean type with a leather jacket and everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
I could never over here with my denim jacket. I tried my best. That's my 90s for you. Damn it.
But yeah, let's talk about the cast now. And we've already touched on it a little bit. I mean, just throughout this entire movie, it's just loaded with talent. I'll go to you first, Lady Cora. Is there anybody other than maybe the two main leads that stand out to you? And what did you think of the cast as a whole?
I do think that all the surfer guys in both crews, that the thuggish ones that weren't really the robbers, and then the actual group that is the focus, they sold it. They seemed like they were all surfer dudes. I think it was well done. They may not be familiar faces, but they all acted it well. I do like that there was a chick in there. Excuse me for coughing. It was kind of refreshing because there's usually one or two girls who are more of a tomboy who hang out with the boys, and so that seemed very realistic. And I really did like Lori Petty's acting in it. It was very well done. Even though I'm not a Gary Busey fan, I think he played the part well. Again, like you said at the beginning, a lot of familiar faces, even if we don't really remember who they are. They, just doing supporting roles here and there. Nobody stood out in this movie is acting badly, so that's good.
Yeah, Jeremy, how about you? What do you think of the cast overall? And other than the two main leads, who do you think really stood out?
I mean, I would say Gary Busey just to piss Cora off, and because Gary Busey just stands out in any situation he's ever in.
So. It doesn't piss me off, to each their own.
No, but to be fair, yeah, he does. He's Gary Busey, so. Man, well, I agree. I mean, the bank robbers.
I also don't like the movie The Big Lebowski, so I know I'm a weirdo.
Man, what weird.
The hell? We need to sit and have a discussion with Cora off camera one of these days. She's not allowed to not like certain movies in this crew.
Well, no, hold on, wait. I can just be like, yeah, well, that's just your opinion, man.
Well, if you're not into the whole brevity thing,
it's because I'm the dude. Anyway, what the hell was I? Oh yeah. So I agree with her about the his like crew of surfers / bank robbers. And it's like even they all play off each other pretty well. I mean, when you got 90 seconds to get in and out of a damn bank, and they play that part pretty well, and it's fun to watch them do that. And even when they realize, oh shit, we're going into the vault, and they're like, what the hell, man? Why are we doing this? And they seem like they had a pretty tight crew, and it's believable.
Yeah, I mean, for me, obviously, Keanu Reeves, Patrick Swayze, they stand out. But, for me, a young Lori Petty works really well. I mean, I like what Cora said about how she's not just a tomboy. She's not the feminine Mary Sue character. She really is as much a part of this group of people. I don't want to call them a gang because I think it's a little unfair. But, I mean, this group of people and their social structure, she does really seem like she's as important a part of this whole thing as anybody else is. So she is very, very good. I'm actually really kind of bummed that we haven't seen her in more stuff. I mean, as she's gotten older, I mean, she was in a couple episodes of House back in the day when it was still on TV. She obviously Orange Is the New Black. She was very good in. But I'm kind of bummed that I haven't seen her in more stuff because I think she is actually a very good actress. Gary Busey, love Gary Busey. Like I said, he brings kind of this weird manic energy that is just really interesting to watch. And it seems like in different roles and stuff, it still works out. You know what I mean? That's my personal thoughts. But you talk about the differences between the two groups of surfers. Like you had Bodie and his guys that were just all about like the spirituality of being surfers when they weren't robbing banks and whatnot. And then you have this other group of guys who are surfers, but they're really kind of more a gang. They're more into the criminal stuff with the drugs and guns and all that. As somebody who grew up in California, I can tell you that there are different groups of surfers that look at life a lot differently. And I knew a lot of guys growing up that were very much about like listening to the ocean is what they used to always tell me, and just enjoying the waves. They had that very spiritual outlook, and other guys that were just really territorial. I mean, it was almost a gang. So and there's a lot of in between as well. But I mean, yeah, it really did a good job kind of displaying the differences between the groups that actually, especially at the time, certainly now, of course, I would imagine, very much existed. But yeah, for me, the standout is Lori Petty. I mean, she really is kind of the glue that holds a lot of this together, because it seems like not only is she kind of the thing that kind of gets the two main characters together in the movie, it also makes sense. I mean, because Keanu Reeves never would have walked up to Bodhi on a beach and be like, "Hey, can I teach you to surf?" Bodhi would be like, "Fuck your loser." That never would have happened. So she ends up kind of the bridge between those two that gives them the opportunity to find the things in common, to develop a relationship that we would see build over the course of the rest of the film. So yeah, it's a great cast overall. I can't knock any of it. Even a lot of the supporting guys, John C. McGinley, who I love. Even when he's trying not to be funny, I was having trouble not laughing at him through the course of this movie, because he's such a funny guy. It's like every time I see him in anything, even if it's a serious role, I kind of want to laugh at him because his look is so stern and so like chiseled and focused, and it's hard not to look at him and be like, that's the guy from Scrubs. It's actually really difficult now, but
he has fantastic man hair. Let me say, like, he's had a great head of hair. I love his hair. It's nice.
And his line delivery is good too. It's forced but fitting for the roles that he's playing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like normally I would say it's somebody doing that is overacting very, very badly, but it's just the way he delivers lines, and maybe it's the roles that maybe he's choosing those roles. Maybe they cast him specifically for that kind of line delivery, but it all works out very, very well. With John C. McGinley, you can't go wrong with that guy.
What would you say you do here? Yeah,
we just stopped writing checks. We fixed the glitch. He's just not getting checks.
Yes, I'm a Michael Bolton fan. I got it.
But let's talk about the action sequences. I mean, 80s, 90s, the one thing they didn't really get wrong very often is the action sequences. The action sequences in this one came from a lot of different angles. It wasn't just the surfing stuff. It was the stuff going on during the heist. It was the skydiving. It was the running through the LA river system. I mean, there was a lot of action in this from a lot of different angles. It was all shot very, very well. Lady Cora, what do you think of the action sequences? And as a woman, as somebody who maybe isn't into the action movies the way that a couple of guys
love action
like Jeremy
movies.
and I would be.
I do.
Yeah,
I actually love good action movies.
Yeah, what did you think of the action sequences? Were they too much? Were they overdone, or were they just right for the movie?
I would say compared to other movies, no. Especially if you count as an action scene, like when Keanu's getting beat up on the beach, and he's trying to hide his radio, and he gets saved, and it's just, I think, I'm not trying to be biased or be all whatever, but I have a strong opinion that women do really well at directing in a more emotional way than say men do sometimes, maybe. Just saying. And I think this was well done. The action sequences seemed more, easier to connect with on an emotional level. It didn't just seem like violence or action for the sake of having it. Like when you're watching Die Hard, it's like, okay, we get it. I love Die Hard. Don't get me wrong. But it was more emotionally evocative, the action sequences in this movie. That's what I'm trying to say. So in that way, it delivered better for me compared to other movies.
Yeah, Jeremy, how about you? The action sequences, obviously that scene right there, one of the more iconic in all of action, action films. What did you think of the action, and does it hold up compared to some of the stuff that we get now?
I don't know. I was gonna piggyback off of what Cora said. I see what she's saying. It's like when shit popped off in this movie, especially like say during the heist or something. It's like it was getting real. Like shit just got real. You know what I mean? I'm gonna keep the Hot Fuzz references going. Believe me. So it's like you feel it. And as Swayze's sitting there trying to pull his buddy out. He's sitting there dying. It's like, and they're yelling at him like, "Come on, we gotta go." It's like, shit. Like, it's not just like you said. We're not just shooting up a whole bank here. It's like, oh, there's like some stakes here, and there's some real shit happening.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see, and you got to give credit to obviously to the late great Patrick Swayze. You can see that pain on his face where he's just like, God damn it, like he doesn't have a choice.
Or in his eyes when he's on the fence and he's looking back, waiting to see if Keanu's going to shoot him.
Yeah, he's just like,
And they zoom in on his eyes, and you see the emotion in him through the mask. Oh, that one got me.
Like you freeze for a second, and he's still sitting there pointing at you, and and Keanu has his little moment too. A lot of emotion in that shit when you fire your gun up in the air and you go yeah, and even in like some of the skydiving stuff, it's like that's again, the ground's coming up real damn fast. You gotta do something here. Gotta pull that cord. So it's not just action, but there's a lot of high stakes and there's some pretty heavy emotion in this movie. So it's kind of got it all, really, when you think about it.
It's like an adrenaline rush just watching the action sequences in this movie, as opposed to just watching an action movie and realizing they're just trying to get your attention and move the plot forward very quickly. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say what my mom said there. It's like actors using stunt doubles. I'm like, hey, that opening scene of Keanu just knocking targets out. I'm like, damn, he's John Wicking it before he was John Wick. Holy, I'm seeing those scenes, like those behind the scenes at like Terran Tactical, and he's just sitting there, Keanu's just going off.
In case we didn't already know that he can murder us pretty efficiently.
Yeah, I'm like, Keanu Reeves is no joke. So yeah, that's pretty dope. It's like we always hear about him being like one of the hardest working dudes in Hollywood. It's like, so I firmly believe, he learned how to shoot. His cardio is probably hella good if he's sitting there trying to run laps with Patrick Swayze, who I don't have to say a word about. He just looks good all the time. And yeah, he can definitely hit his targets.
Yeah, Cora says something pretty interesting about directing these action sequences, a little bit of emotion. I think a lot of that is not just in how you frame the action sequence. This more than the vast majority, not all, but in the vast majority of kind of pure action films, you get a little more connected to the characters than you usually do. It's like, I bitch all the time about the Fast and the Furious films and how kind of obscene and silly they've gotten. But I always say that the first one is very, very good, because you get kind of wrapped up in that relationship between Brian and
part of
Dom.
that is because in that movie you're speaking of and this one, there's an aspect of someone going undercover, pretending to be somebody else, trying to get close to somebody.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. But that is one of the big differences. It's like you see like most Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. I mean, yeah, it's pure action. It's great to hear him, I'll be back, come with me if you want to live. Those are great one-liners. And maybe the Terminator isn't the best example, because you do kind of, especially the second one, is you watch the relationship between him and John Connor kind of gross, the same thing. But in so many action movies, it's just like the cop shows up, he's like, I'm going to get you, sucker. And then he's like, no, you're not going to get me, copper. And then there's gunfights and chases and there's one-liners. And there's not really a lot of them there's not a lot of depth. You know what I mean? You don't really get to explore what the dichotomy of these characters. It's one of the reasons why I always talk so highly about that diner scene in Heat. It's like, Heat's not really a pure action movie. Definitely the shootouts are pretty awesome, especially the big one downtown after the bank robbery. But it's like, when have you ever seen an action movie where its best scene is the one where two guys are just sitting there talking? And that scene with De Niro and Pacino, I mean, that's a masterclass in dialogue delivery. Just a simple conversation, but the way these two guys do it, it tells you so much about these characters. Not just what makes them different, what makes them the same, just with some great dialogue. And that like 5-minute scene is easily the best scene in the film, despite all the cool shootouts. And this movie is a lot of the same ways. You get to watch this relationship develop a little bit between these two characters, knowing, and it's kind of building this anticipation in the way that you build up the anticipation of that first rise of the roller coaster, because it's all going to go sideways at some point. I mean, it's like, at some point the FBI, the new surfer guy and the veteran surfer guy who are becoming friends, at some point that's going to become the FBI agent, the bank robber, and you're just waiting for all that to boil over and for that dichotomy to really present itself and to be what kind of breaks everything open and pushes us to the climax at kind of a breakneck speed. But you're so much more emotionally involved in it because you like Bodhi. The best villains are the guys that you like, the guys that you relate to. And all of this film, and he even has that one speech on the beach towards the end of the second act where he's like, this has never been about the money, this is about the system. He's got his moral code dialed in really, really tight. I mean, because he's like, yeah, we could go rob more stuff, but we're just doing this to help break everything that we think is wrong with anything in the world that's within our reach. That's why we do this. We don't do this because we want to go buy art. We don't do this because we want to spend a lot of money. We do this because we just want to, fight the system. And that's his moral compass. And in many ways, even people who kind of look at him and be like, some dumb surfer doesn't know what he's talking about, can kind of be like, yeah, I kind of get it. He doesn't like the system, so he's trying to stir things up a little bit, so maybe it'll all change. So and then of course it's hard not to be on Keanu Reeves' side over the course of this whole movie. He's Johnny Utah, Ohio State quarterback, for the second time, by the way.
By the way, I loved his football alarm clock that he grabs at
the helmet. Yeah.
Like, that is so 1990s. Everybody having an alarm clock that's shaped or looks like something they love, like the bananas or the hamburger phones and shit like that.
Oh wait,
but yeah, it's great stuff the way that they put all this together. What were you about to say, Jay? Before I move on to the next point.
Oh, I said OH. No one said it.
I-O. Damn right.
Thank you.
But I only do that because I'm an Ohio State fan.
I was gonna say I know you're from California, but come on, give it to me. Just let me have it.
Fan. I like Ohio State. That's my college team. But let's talk about the plot a little bit. Again, a little. A heist movie is not a new thing, but again, it kind of takes a different approach. It's not just about the bank heist as much as it is so many other things. I mean, it's the great visuals, it's the bank heist, it's the relationship growth. Lady Cora, what do you think about just the overall plot? Did all this stuff work well for you when you mixed it with the
That was
cast?
part of the problem I had with the movie. I also didn't like The Departed, and this kind of has that similar model in some ways for me. I don't know. Maybe that's just why I don't like it. But I will say this: the plot did have good flow, and my favorite scene of the movie was the end scene when he uncuffs him and he lets him go out into the surf, like that. The exchange they have, the whole movie builds up to this, moment they share together. And so I don't know. The plot, it moved well, but this kind of formula is not really my jam. So hard to explain that maybe, but I will say for what this kind of is, the plot did move well.
Hey, see, I love heist movies. I think even the bad heist movies, if you do the heist part right, it makes it watchable for me. I mean, because there have been a couple that have just not been very good. But if you get the adrenaline pumping during the heist, I'm generally pretty happy with your film. I don't know, Jay. What about you? Does the plot work out well for you? What do you think?
Yeah, and it's not like you said. It's not like we haven't seen this kind of thing before. Somebody tries to go
or
undercover,
since, for that matter.
Go undercover and infiltrate this group of guys, and then of course you know how that goes. You turn into Tom Sizemore, and you're like, God damn it! I've been doing this shit for 3 fucking months. I grew this. You think I like this hair? Fuck. You get, there's always the complications that come with that kind of job. So, I can't with Tom Sizemore. That's great. And speaking of him, like shit like heist, Heat. Like you said, when you do it and you do it right, it hits. And like you said, even some of the best scenes are just Pacino and De Niro sitting there across the table from each other, just talking it out. It's like, God damn. It works. Like the action scenes go off, and when they go off, they go hard. And it's hard to. That's like you said. It's nice to give a bad guy kind of like you can look at him and be like, yeah, he's got a point. He's probably right. So it's interesting having that dichotomy where you're like, should I be on like Keanu Reeves' side or should I be on Patrick Swayze's side? You know what I mean? Like you're kind of, then you kind of realize they both have a kind of the same, like, what do you say? Like the same goal in mind here at the end. So it's wild.
Yeah. That's one of the best things about this movie is you get to a point, like the first time you're watching it, even though you kind of know where it's all going, you look at it and you're like, I kind of want both these guys to win somehow. It's probably not going to be possible in the end, but you look at it and you're like, I really want both these guys to come out on top at the end of this thing because you get so invested in these guys.
He got his wave and Johnny Utah got his man.
Kind of.
So,
by the way, I love the last name, Johnny Utah. It's so like male stripper. It's fantastic. Love it.
Well, he
I don't
also
know.
he played a guy named Johnny Silverhand in a video game, so it kind of makes sense, I guess.
There is a piece of trivia about his name here. I don't think I put it in here, but and I'll find it here in just a second because it is interesting you say that, because I'll go ahead and spit it out now. He liked his name because it was it reminded him of Johnny Unitas, who was the great NFL quarterback for the Colts, and Joe Montana, who he had grown up watching in the 80s and 90s, just like I did. So he said the name reminded him of Johnny Unitas and Joe Montana, so that's why he liked the name. That's one of the things from what I was reading, and one of the things that attracted him to the role was the name of Johnny Utah. He just liked the name. He thought it was cool. But one of the big things about movies that people compare movies, and ad nauseum, people have said that Fast and the Furious is just a remake, a basic shot-for-shot remake of Point Break, only instead of surfing, it's
I don't catch
Street Racers.
Look, here's my argument to that is there are basic plot lines
to every the same stories
that are used over and over and over again. Cora, you specifically, I know you probably watch a lot of rom-coms just like my girlfriend does. Boy Meets Girl.
Actually, I'm not a big rom-com fan. I'm not a big fan of them. But I've seen a lot.
Surprising. I figured you'd be kind of into those things. But I mean, honestly, Boy Meets Girl. How many movies like that have ever come out? Probably about 1 million of them.
Too many. Let's just say that.
Well, bank heist movies. How many have come out? 1 million of them. And even surfing specifically, it's not like when this movie came out that movies about surfers or kind of the extreme sports were nothing new. Surfing in particular, I mean, up until to the point where this movie came out, I could probably rattle off 10 or 15 movies about surfing. Some that are iconic, like Endless Summer is still a movie that to this day I get a great amount of joy to watch. But the comparisons of calling Fast and the Furious, the first Fast and the Furious film, just a shot-for-shot remake of Point Break, to me, that's one of the reasons why it's stupid to me. Because a heist film with action set pieces and two guy characters that have some complicated relationship is not the newest thing to filmmaking in 1991 when this movie released, or 1990 or so when they were filming it. I don't know, Jeremy, what do you think? I mean, is it dumb? Do you think, like me, that it's dumb to compare these two and to kind of shit on the Fast and the Furious like that, or is it just movies?
It's just stories. You can change the characters, the settings, the time period. I mean, even I was thinking like like even like Star Wars. I'm like, you could say Star Wars is like, I mean, he got a lot of influence from like Japanese like samurai films. Like there's plenty of like, I think even like Kurosawa films, you could be like, yeah, that's Star Wars, but just with actual swords and shit like that. Like you set it in space. Okay. There's some, you can, it's funny to point shit out like that. Like when people find those weird coincidences between, who is it? JFK and Lincoln, right? It's like, that's weird. It's weird that that there's that many.
Both humans. Hey, conspiracy.
Right. Common names like, Ford and Lincoln, you know what I mean? So, okay, I mean, good for you. You found that there was more than one of the same thing in these two different movies. And they're two different movies. It's just like you said, there's stories that you can tell through a different medium in a way. Like I can paint the same picture, but I can do it in crayon. I can do it in colored pencil. I can do it with dyed colors of dog shit. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing, but not. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's the same story, but I mean, it's well, to be fair, there's not 10 different Point Break movies where they would have gone to space or some shit. I don't know. He goes surfing on the fucking moon or something. At least we didn't do that. So, or whatever they do in the Fast and the Furious. Yeah, I don't know anymore.
Me neither. But I don't know, Lady Cora, what about you? Assuming that you've seen the first Fast and the Furious movie?
Oh yeah, tuna salad.
Do you think that it's a bad comparison, a good comparison? Do you think it's a logical comparison at all? What do you think?
I don't. As soon as you said it, I was like, what? And I've been thinking the whole time you've been talking. I'm like, I don't see it myself. I'd have to.
Well, Brian's Keanu Reeves. He's going undercover, and Dom is Patrick Swayze, basically.
I mean, like that concept, yes, but I don't know. I don't know.
And then he falls in love with Dom's sister, and this guy falls in love with his former lover, girlfriend, whatever. I don't know.
Okay,
Kind
maybe
of.
you put it that way, but to me, they're just very different in a lot of ways. But maybe that's the point, so that you don't get wrapped up in it the way I did.
Yeah, we're surfing and skydiving, bank robbing instead of.
I could see it, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, for me, I see the comparisons. They are a little obvious at times, and even one of the things that Fast and Furious, the first one, could have gotten wrong is they could have not developed the relationship between Brian and Dom, which I think would have made that a less good movie. I think it would have impacted the way that I watched the film. But I like the fact it did that. Sure, it did that here, but that's one of the things that sets your action set piece ahead of other action set pieces is that there's something about the characters that draw you in, and then all the jumping out of airplanes or the driving underneath the semi with the lowrider car kind of thing, that those moments hit a bit differently because you're not just watching the action, you're actually worried for the character. You're like, oh my God, does this person die? Not, I hope this person crashes because I want to see another big explosion because I'm here to watch an action movie after all. But you're actually more concerned with the characters than you are just the explosion on TV.
Well, we're not really concerned about the characters in Fast and the Furious because Letty definitely fucking died. And no, she didn't. Why? Because I said, okay, whatever.
Yeah, I just watched Fast 10 last night, and I was thinking there was one thing in particular I was just like, you keep dodging this one thing that makes that's obviously everybody's face that you don't want to approach, but you kind of have to. But yeah, I mean, look, make the comparisons all you want, but the reality is you could take 50 or 20 other action movies like this and draw so many straight lines right across of these things that match up that it's just a dumb comparison. I mean, how many vampire movies have been made? How many Godzilla movies have been made, for crying out loud? I made 750 Godzilla movies, and I'm probably not even lying about that. I mean, it's like,
you're not.
There's I mean, Tex loves the horror movies. I mean, crazy killer is chasing, blonde girl through the streets trying to kill her. That's the basic plot of about 3,000 different horror movies. And half of them are good, the other half of them are bad. I mean, it's all in the presentation. I think this was good presentation. I think the first Fast and Furious was good presentation. But I don't understand why people tend to hate Fast and Furious because they think they're ripping off this movie, when every movie rips off another one. Tex just put in the chat a second ago, I see good films borrow, great films steal. There's actually an old quote that says, good writers borrow, great writers steal outright. I forget who said it, but that's true. It's there. I mean, there's nothing wrong with taking a plot line and building a new story around it with new characters, because that's what writing is about. I mean, it's like Westerns have been done to death, but we love Mandalorian by and large. That's just a Western in space. That's
Firefly.
Is it ripping off a Western? There's all kinds of elements that you could draw straight lines to, from Mandalorian to half the Clint Eastwood films or whatever. So, whatever. But let's see. Schleppy, what's up, brother? He says, I like horror movies too. Well, yeah.
Okay.
No, doesn't everybody? But let's see. Let's get into a little bit of the.
It's always the same.
Now.
It's the same plot line. The damn sink's broke again. God damn it! She's stuck in the dryer.
Yeah. But let's get into a little bit of the trivia now, and we'll go. I'll go with this picture first. Patrick Swayze was actually an accomplished skydiver, and took part in the big skydiving scene himself. He made 55 jumps in total. I really didn't know this about him. That he was kind of a adrenaline junkie in real life. I'm not surprised necessarily, but I just never thought that about him. I just thought he was kind of a homegrown, low down, kind of just keep to myself kind of guy when he wasn't making awesome movies like this. Are you surprised to hear this at all, Jeremy?
No, I mean, that's what kind of makes it great for this movie, that's what his character is. You know what I mean? I wasn't sure I knew that, but like I was wondering that scene, like when I think you had the picture when he's got the revolver and he's about to jump out of the plane, and he's like, "Yep, see ya, dude." Woo! When he jumps out, I'm like, that was actually him. Like, that's a real shot. He just jumped out of the plane.
Yeah.
I was like, he could be in the plane. He could, probably dive out into into a jump pad or whatever the hell. I'm like, no, that kept going. That's actually him diving. That's him. Bye. There he goes.
Yeah, that's one continuous shot.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he actually just whoop, goodbye, drove out of a plane. So
well,
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, a little bit more about Patrick Swayze. He participated in skydiving as a hobby. He was actually told to stop for insurance purposes once production of the film began. Producers coaxed him into the agreement with the promise of letting the star do one actual skydive on screen. So the uncut shot of Bodhi yelling "Adios, amigos" and falling from the plane features Swayze actually making a jump. But unbeknownst to the producers, when not on that day's call sheet, Swayze and others would occasionally run out to an airport and go skydiving anyway.
God,
that makes perfect sense.
He just is Bodhi. I love it.
I mean, he was Patrick Swayze. It's like, who's gonna tell Patrick Swayze no?
I'm not gonna tell him no.
Even if I'd have caught him, I'd have been like, just make sure your shit opens, okay? I don't know anything, but you'd be Patrick Swayze.
Yeah.
But let's see. The fight that happened actually on the beach, the second unit director and stunt coordinator Glenn Wilder held a fight training session for the cast on weekends because director Kathryn Bigelow wanted the actors to do their own fights on screen without stuntmen. Anthony Kiedis was allegedly the only cast member to miss this training, so Wilder had his character knocked out with one punch during the first fight sequence in the movie.
Damn. Well, you did good, kid.
I could have swore I grabbed a picture of him making that stupid face that he makes when he has that like a one close up right at the like early on in that scene. But I'm actually the Red Hot Chili Peppers have been all over all kinds of movies. Flea was in one or two of the Back to the Future films.
He was in like two of them, yeah.
Yeah.
He was in 2 and 3, and then he was in Star Wars. He was the guy trying to kidnap the young Princess Leia, which is funny.
Yeah, it is. Let's see. Johnny Utah became an FBI agent after a knee injury ended his football career. In real life, Keanu Reeves was once an aspiring hockey player who suffered a knee injury and went on to become an actor. Patrick Swayze also suffered a serious knee injury playing football and went on to become an actor as well. So, yay for knee injuries? I hate to say it like that, but I mean, did these injuries not happen? Maybe we would have seen Keanu Reeves playing hockey in the NHL. You never know. And maybe we would have seen Patrick Swayze in the NFL. Who knows? But I mean, hey, it's weird the weird paths that life can take sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All I know is we got this movie out of it, so thank God for knee injuries. Had one or two myself. Not that serious, thank God. But Cora, I'm about to break your heart here, Cora. I remember what you said earlier about the Patrick Swayze looking back at Keanu Reeves in this scene. I'm gonna have to break your heart. Sorry, I hate to do it, but I thought this was interesting. Patrick Swayze was not the one wearing the Reagan mask during the foot chase sequence. Instead, his stunt double, Scott Wilder, performed the scene because Swayze was in Europe doing press for Ghost, which came out a year earlier. So that's actually not Patrick Swayze in that scene, which I did not know until I was reading it for this
Damn.
That did kind of tweak me a little bit. I was like, oh, one of the
best scene
in this entire film. Dramatic. You're wrapped up with these characters. They both know who each other are at this point. I mean, the cat's out of the bag. So it's like in that moment, and then he looks up in the sky and fires because he just loves Patrick Swayze so much.
There's a great bit of jumping over fences in Point Break.
Yeah.
No shit. What's the matter, Danny? You never take a shortcut?
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, when I first read that, I was like, "Oh, really?" So it is. I'm really hoping that, like in pickup shots, they at least got the close up on his eyes of Patrick Swayze. Like they just kind of got a close up of him, so it was him. It's really hard to tell through the mask. I mean, it really could have been anybody's eyes. But I read that and I was like, "Oh, really?" I feel like that scene's a lie now. It's actually kind of disappointing. But oh well, I'll live.
I mean, if they were sitting there putting up his for insurance purposes, like, hey man, you can't be skydiving. It's like, I think that's where that Reagan, where the suit catches on fire and he's like running. I'm like, that's a cool stunt shot, but I'm like, that's definitely a stunt guy, and you could very easily hide that under a suit and a full Reagan mask. I'm like, yeah, that's probably not actually Patrick doing that. So I'm like, that's disappointing, but also I'm like, yeah, I get it.
Cooper Time watching this on YouTube says Busey's one-liners are the best in this. Oh yeah, like when he talks shit to John C. McGinley's character, It's like I said, I understand what Cora says about not liking Gary Busey. He's over the top.
He's not for everybody.
You know, it's
he's not for everybody.
It's just a preference thing. You know, some people can't stand looking at Scarlett Johansson's lips, or they can't stand. I don't know. I'm just saying, for me, it's something. I can't place it.
No, I get it. Like I said, he's a very overbearing, upfront, abrasive, almost, abrupt at times in his line delivery. But I've just always really enjoyed watching Gary Busey. I think he's fun as hell to watch. Let's see. Also, there were plans for a sequel. 20th Century Fox had made plans for a sequel to the film to be released in the summer of 1993. In fact, a script had been written and was in pre-production.
Wow.
Despite the film grossing $90 million worldwide at the time, the studio decided to scrap the project for reasons that nobody knows.
Damn.
I wonder what a sequel to this would have looked like.
Maybe he survived the wave.
Yeah, and that would have been a perfect trope because, Marvel, let's face it, before Marvel came along and there was plenty of people that died in movies and came back. But yeah, I'm interested to see how that would have worked. Would have been more, because look, Bodhi dies. That's what we're left to understand at the end of the movie. You see Johnny Utah throwing his badge into the water. So is he still an FBI agent? I'm kind of wondering where a sequel would have gone, or even would it have had these two characters in it at all? Would it have had Keanu Reeves? Would it have had anybody? Would it have just been a whole new movie set with whole new different surfers?
Yeah.
I feel like if you were going to do a sequel, you had to bring back bare minimum Keanu Reeves. Bare minimum. And the reality is you probably have to bring back Swayze too. I don't know.
Or
if this movie
secret
works
love child between him and Tyler, growing up. Oh, wait, they did that in other Keanu Reeves movies.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to rip off another movie. That's bad business. Bad stuff. Let's see. Talk about a potential casting that could have happened. Matthew Broderick was actually originally offered the role of Johnny Utah.
Huh.
I don't know if I could have seen Matthew Broderick in this at all. Like, as soon as I read that, I was like, there's no way. Others who auditioned for the role were Johnny Depp, Charlie Sheen, Willem Dafoe, and Val Kilmer. I could have seen Val Kilmer do this.
Val Kilmer would have been pretty cool.
Val Kilmer would have been awesome. I don't know about Johnny Depp. I don't even really know about Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen's got this weird intensity about him that sometimes works, but sometimes doesn't.
Winning.
Yeah, I don't know if he would have. But then again, maybe, because Johnny Utah, when he comes into the movie, he's very intense. He's fresh out of the academy, wanting to prove himself, but he changes over the course of the film. I don't know that change would have worked the same way with Charlie Sheen. I also don't know, as much as I love Willem Dafoe, I also don't know if Willem Dafoe would be able to pull it off either.
Nah.
I don't know. For one, I don't think he's ever been as good looking as Keanu. I don't think anybody's ever been as good looking as Keanu.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Of all those guys, Val Kilmer, I think, is the one who probably could have done it because I think he's got great range. Johnny Depp, maybe. Charlie Sheen, I don't think so. Willem Dafoe, I don't know. Matthew Broderick, I don't think so. I see him as so much as a comedy actor now. It's really hard for me to see him do anything like this. Even in that Godzilla movie that came out in like 96, it was much more comedy. Or 98, was it? It was something like
Broderick,
that.
Yeah, that was 98.
Yeah, but even in that, he was much more of a comedic role in that movie than it was, because there was obviously action stuff in it. It was kind of a blockbuster Hollywood film, but there was still a lot of comedy in that role to him. So I see him mostly as a comedian. That's just me, though. I don't know. You guys can let me know what you think. Let's see. The two of the other surfers, Boji's Christopher, who played Gromit, and John Philbin, who played Nathaniel, were actually pro surfers in real life who acted on the side.
Nice.
That actually happens a lot because one of the movies that I want to do eventually is The Lords of Dogtown, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. And I was watching the making of feature on the DVD, and they said that they had started to try to teach actors how to skate, but then they were just like, why don't we just go get skaters who can act? So one, you don't have to spend time teaching them how to skateboard, which is not the easiest thing in the world to learn if you're already deep into your teens or your early 20s. They said, why don't we just go get some skaters that have a little bit of acting ability, maybe even a little bit of acting history, and put them in the movie. And that's what they ended up doing. They went and got a bunch of skaters to be in the movie. That's a fantastic movie. That's one of my favorite films. But Yeah, so John Philbin's actually been in a lot of stuff. I know I've seen him in other movies. I never realized till I read this, though, that he was actually a pro surfer at one point. But, also, we said Ohio State quarterback Johnny Utah. This is actually the first of 2 movies in which Keanu Reeves plays a former Ohio State quarterback. The second was The Replacements that came out in the year 2000. He was a former Ohio State quarterback in that film as well. That is a good movie. Bit of a rom-com, also a bit of a sports movie as well, of course, but bit of a rom-com. Best of both those things, I think. Let's see. I don't know. I'm going to put the over-under for this next one. I'm going to put it at about. I'll put it at 75. And I ask you, Jeremy, how many times was the F-bomb dropped in this movie?
I thought you were going to ask me how many people died in this movie. I was like, well, it wasn't 75. So, F-bombs? Okay.
I would say not as much as Wolf of Wall Street, but,
Nah, but not as much as Scarface. That's still...
Yeah, Scarface probably beat the 75 mark in about the first 35 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, it was close to 300, so I definitely didn't sit down and count once. Seen the movie so many times, man. I was just like, I'm bored. I'm going to do this for this one. Okay.
I got the over at 75. You think it's more or less?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm like, you said over under at 75, so I want to say less. Not by much, but less.
Lady Cora, what do you think? 75 over under for the number of times the F word was used in this film.
I'm gonna go with 99, Bob Barker.
Pay $1, Bob.
Well, Cora's the closest without going over. The F word is said 105 times in this movie.
Nice.
It seems like a lot, but
on the wheel.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot. It didn't feel that way when I was watching the movie. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention. Maybe it's because I swear like a sailor in my real life, so I just didn't notice. But yeah, it did seem kind of. I read that and I was like, 105, really? It seems like a lot, but I don't know. I didn't bother counting at all. But still, that kind of shocked me a little bit. Let's see.
Dear God, I hope we never do the Boondock Saints. That's a good 90s movie, and I think Rocco drops about 10 of them in one go.
Well, the dream sequence when he shows up in the second one. I mean, that alone, he'd probably swear he probably drops it about 10 times.
Yeah. It's because it's nobody's fucking business.
Duke fucking Wayne.
Duke fucking Wayne.
I pulled this out because I was hoping Tex would be here. But Tex, if you're listening, you're the car guy. Utah's car is a 1970 Ford Mustang Mach 1. That's the kind of Mustang I'd like to have. I don't want one of the new ones. I don't want anything after probably 95, even really 90 when it comes to Mustangs. I want the oldest Mustang that I can get. 70s and 70s to me are the Mustangs that look the best. I don't know anything about engines. I'm not a big car guy. I know what I like. I know what kind of cars I'd like to drive around. The 70s model, maybe into the 80s for some of them. Mustangs, I like the way those cars look. As a matter of fact, that's what Clarice Starling drives in the first time in Silence of the Lambs. She drives, I think, roughly the same car. I think it's a 70s Mustang, and I've always loved that car. I mean, if that's one of my dream cars. If you gave me a blank check right now, so I go buy a car, it'd be one just like that. But let's see. We'll draw another comparison between a couple of Swayze movies. The last thing Johnny says to Bodie is "Vaya con Dios." Similarly, in Red Dawn, which came out in 1984, the last word spoken to Patrick Swayze's character,
oh my God, you're right,
is "Vaya con Dios" by Colonel Bella.
So you said Red Dawn, I was like, oh shit, you're right. That is the last. Yeah.
Another movie we're gonna have to do eventually.
Oh God, yes.
What? Oh God, that is just the peak of 80s right there. Love that movie.
Wolverines.
Oh, that scene where his dad's just like, avenge me. God, it's a powerful scene. God, that's such a great scene. But in another potential casting change, what could have been? And Jeremy, I'm interested to hear what you would think of this. Michael Biehn revealed in an interview that there were briefly talks of him starring as Bodhi, but plans fell through. I don't know. It's kind of hard to imagine anybody but Patrick Swayze in this role. But Michael Biehn, I don't know. If there's one name you could have put out there other than Swayze.
Who else could have been doing it well? Why am I blanking on his name? Nicolas Cage.
Maybe.
I think he could have pulled it off.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Nicolas Cage is kind of a guy's a weird actor sometimes. It's like
he's Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, he's definitely his own thing. I mean, you know, we've talked a little bit already about you know, the way that Gary Busey, he brings a different energy, a kind of a manic energy. That's kind of what Nicolas Cage does as well. Only his is just different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it could have been interesting. I don't know. I personally, if I had to choose between Swayze and Nicolas Cage, I would probably choose Swayze. But Nicolas Cage would have been interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. But of all the casting was, I don't know. Jeremy, you think Michael Biehn could have done it? I mean, it would have been interesting because Michael Biehn was still in pretty good shape. He was still, I mean, fresh off of things like Aliens and Terminator. I think at this time he was, Terminator. I think at this time he was doing, it was right about this time that TV movie he did, Asteroid, came out or something like that. Maybe it was mid-90s that came out. I forget. But I don't know. What do you think? Michael Biehn, do you think he could have pulled it off?
Maybe. I don't know. He didn't. Maybe he's a little too intense. He doesn't have that kind of like we said, like Patrick's got that kind of chill, but like you said, he's got his mind right where, you know, he wants to be. In a way, it's not like, I don't know. I'll just be seeing too much. Not John Connor, fucking Kyle. Fuck, that was his name. I'm looking at like 5 different things. I'm like, what was Nick Cage doing in 1990? Kyle Reeves. He was doing Wild at Heart. That was 1990. So that was Nick Cage. Maybe, I don't know. Trying to imagine with like if you kept that same mullet, I mean, like maybe
it would have been interesting to see, but I think ultimately I'm glad that we got Patrick Swayze instead of Michael Biehn. Not that Michael Biehn is not a great actor who could do just about anything, but I think there was something about the surfer lifestyle, that kind of a character that came naturally to Patrick Swayze. You know, one of the things I always think of when you mention surfers, I was thinking the goofy laugh, like that kind of thing. Get like the Pauly Shore kind of goofy laugh. I don't know if we would have gotten those kinds of mannerisms and that kind of a laugh out of Michael Biehn. I think he might have played it a bit more. I don't want to say stuck up because that's not right. He might have been a little more stiff about being a surfer. Or maybe we would have gotten a whole different Brody. Maybe it would have been. You know, they'd have cast Michael Biehn, and then they said, "Oh, well, instead of making Bodhi this kind of like spiritual surfer who's just trying to fight the system, maybe we're going to make him like an actual villain that we don't really like."
They partly wanted the sex appeal of Patrick Swayze to bring the ladies into an action movie. I mean,
well, you got to think in the 90s, Michael Biehn had a certain amount of sex appeal too.
True,
I
mean, wasn't Patrick Swayze like sexiest man in the world like 3 years in a row sometime around this time?
Yeah, that or like, you know, so many times. Of course,
yeah,
in the 90s,
I mean, there's just
from
a
the
certain
80s into the 90s. Yeah,
swagger that bringing Patrick Swayze in, I think, brings to the film. But
also then Tombstone was right after that, so
maybe it's a money
thing
too. Maybe Biehn wanted more money. Who knows?
Well, speaking of killing.
Well, it does say there were briefly talks of him co-starring as Bodhi, but plans fell through. So maybe it was money. Maybe it was he wanted to do some different things with the role that they didn't think fit into what they wanted the movie to be. I don't know. It could be one of a million things, but you know, all I know is Michael Biehn would have been interesting to see, but I think we got the best version of Bodhi we got from Patrick Swayze. I think that was the best we could have gotten. But I don't know. If I'm wrong, go down in the comments. Let me know. I mean, I personally, Patrick Swayze, I think was the best we could have cast. But there's at least one name out there we could have gotten. Could have been Michael Biehn. You never know. Real quick, I want to thank. I missed it. I clicked off the thing. Really mysterious. Thanks for the donation. He said, "Sorry, I'm late. My pet koala bear was throwing a temper tantrum." Good evening to Frank, Jeremy, and the lovely Cora. I give this movie 7.1 out of 10. That's not a bad score. I'd take that score.
I'll take that one. Yeah.
I would rate it a little bit higher. I might give it a solid 9. I mean, if I really wanted to, if I wanted to knock it for looking a little dated, because it does look a little dated. I mean, Christ, the movie is 32 years old, but you know, I mean, it does look a little dated. That might knock it a bit, but it's a solid 8 or 9 to me. Let's see. For those of you who are aware with anything about presidents, I don't have a good picture of them in their president mass. But let's see. The members of the ex-presidents are killed in chronological order of when their respective presidents served in office. It's very odd.
Oh, I love that.
I like that detail.
God,
so first would have been LBJ, then would have been Carter. Yep. What other presidents were there? LBJ, Carter,
Nixon.
Reagan. There was one other one. Nixon.
How'd you forget Nixon?
So it was LBJ. Well, everybody wants to forget Nixon, but it was LBJ,
fair.
Nixon, then Carter, then Reagan. That's how they went down. That is interesting. I wonder if stuff like this is planned.
Maybe.
Sometimes I think things just kind of fall in like that. And then, like, later on, somebody brings it up, and the director's like, yeah, we totally did that on purpose. It's an Easter egg and stuff. They're just like, whatever. As long as you guys are talking about the movie still, I don't care. But let's get to Jeremy's favorite part now. Body count, baby.
It's like my favorite part when he shoots the gun in the air. Leave me alone.
Right now, Jeremy's shooting his gun in the air, and you're like, I don't want to do body counts anymore.
I'm about to.
Lady Cora, what do you think the body count of this was?
12.
Do you have do you have an over under, or do you want me to just take a shot at it?
Just take a shot at it. There weren't. I did the over under for the F word because it was said 105 times. That was like a lot. I knew that nobody would be counting that. You probably could have counted if you were paying attention to the movie close enough.
No, I was just enjoying it. I was just enjoying it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. What'd you say, Cora? 12?
12.
Cora said 12.
Okay. I'm going to say 10.
For the first time since we've been doing body counts, Jeremy hits it exactly on the nose. The body count, according to IMDb, the body count of this movie is 10.
You didn't see me just sitting there like, that one, 10. Got it.
Well, for some movies, you can be like, okay, here's roughly, and be within like a kill or two, depending on, IMDb and what they count as kills. We've had that discussion in Nauseam as well. But some movies, it's like most horror movies, it's like, God, this guy kills 3 people every 10 minutes. It's like, Jesus, how am I supposed to count this stuff? But
yeah, I got it finally.
But let me see if there's any other. I'm clicking on the wrong stuff here. There was the one piece of trivia I wanted to bring up that I didn't put down in my notes. I still wanted to talk about. Break. Did you guys even bother watching the remake?
No.
Me neither.
I didn't even know there was a remake until you mentioned it.
Yeah, I didn't want to ruin it for me, so no.
Yeah, I've been tempted at times. I think it's on 1 or 2 of the streaming services to watch for free, but I mean, I just don't want to. I've heard so much negative shit about the remake that I just don't want to. I don't want to bother. if
I watched the remake of Red Dawn, and I kind of hate myself for doing that. But
that one wasn't bad. It wasn't nearly
but
it's the first one though.
You can't beat the.
Oh yeah.
No.
I mean, it's one thing to modernize a movie from this time period, from the 80s or early 90s, but it didn't work.
As much fun as it was replacing the not Nick Nolte. Fuck, what's the guy's name that played the Colonel?
Powers Booth.
Powers Booth.
Yeah.
As much as I appreciate you putting Jeffrey D. Morgan, frickin' Negan as the Marine they find, I'm like, nah, it still doesn't work for me. I didn't even know who Chris Hemsworth was at that time. I saw a poster, like a big stand-up poster in the theater for Red Dawn. I was like, oh, they're remaking that? And I'm like, who's this Chris Hemsworth fucker who's trying to be Patrick Swayze? I'm like, you're never going to amount to shit, dude. Oh, he's Thor? Oh, okay. Well, shit.
Well,
never mind.
We'll give you a chance. But let's see. Keanu Reeves actually observed real-life FBI agents in Los Angeles to study for the role. Not unheard of for an actor. But he also practiced with UCLA quarterback coaches to help with the football scene, which was 3 seconds long, and nobody really cared about it anyway. I mean, sure, you might want to look like you're dropping back like a pro quarterback, but I mean, come on. You're on a beach. You're not playing real football. And to be absolutely honest, knowing this, his form wasn't all that good anyway. His form was still kind of clumsy. Let's see. 2 months before filming. Yeah, 2 months before filming, Keanu Reeves, Patrick Swayze, and Lori Petty trained with a former world-class professional surfer named Dennis Jarvis in Kauai, Hawaii. Jarvis remembers Patrick said he had been on board a couple of times. Keanu definitely had not surfed before, and Lori had never been in the ocean in her life.
Oh, jeez.
And ironically enough, Keanu took up surfing because of this movie and has been a regular surfer ever since.
Hey.
That's cool.
Hell yeah.
Let's see. According to Gary Busey, Patrick Swayze was so nuts about skydiving that he actually badgered him until he gave in and agreed to go with him on a skydive after filming. I can imagine Gary Busey on the way down the skydive.
Right.
Oh my God.
Could you imagine just skydiving with Gary Busey? That'd be fucking intense.
I can imagine doing anything with Gary Busey, but on a skydive, him on the way down, oh my God, the language that would come out, he'd be speaking in tongue. I would, the verbiage that would come from that man's face. Let's see, Patrick Swayze actually cracked 4 ribs while filming some of the surfing scenes.
Yikes.
Damn.
Roadhouse.
Roadhouse.
You know what? He roundhouse kicked that dude on the beach, and I'm like, Roadhouse. Didn't they even say that in the movie too? They're like, oh yeah, they hit this place, and this place. And one of them was called Patrick's Roadhouse. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Actually, where they have where
Keanu
Reeves and Patrick Swayze had lunch early on in the film was called Patrick's Roadhouse. They actually did that as kind of a fun little Easter egg. That's why they called it that.
Yeah, I'm like, that's great.
See, the beach spot where the football game was played in the beginning of the film is the same spot that was used for the soccer game in Karate Kid in 1984.
Oh.
Okay.
It's another one that's on the long, ever-growing list of movies I want to talk about. Let's see. Kathryn Bigelow actually fought to have Keanu Reeves cast as Johnny Utah, insisting that she wouldn't film the movie without him. The studio and producers were interested in looking at higher-profile actors at the time, like Johnny Depp.
Oh, well.
Trust me, it worked out, producers. It worked out much better, I think. Let's see. Yeah. Patrick Swayze felt that Bodhi was a lot like him. They both shared that wild man edge. I'd never gotten that from Patrick Swayze, though.
I don't know.
I like looking at this movie, it's odd how he fits into the surfer role. But before this movie came out, I would never have pegged him for someone who would have been really into surfing or something like that. I mean, he's a country boy from Tennessee or some shit like that. Right. I would never have pegged him as a surfer, but crazy things. Let's see. Officially uncredited because of an unresolved issue with the Writers Guild of America, James Cameron and Kathryn Bigelow actually rewrote the final script together.
Nice.
Let's see. Patrick Swayze originally auditioned for the part of Johnny Utah before getting the role of Bodhi. That could have been interesting. I feel like Swayze being a little bit older, though, I don't feel like the Johnny Utah part he would have fitted as well as somebody like Keanu Reeves. I mean, because at the time he was in his probably mid-30s. I want to say
Swayze.
Yeah,
I think so.
So I think being a little bit older than Keanu Reeves, he takes on that mentor role. It looks a bit more natural to me in the movie because he is a little bit older than the younger Johnny Utah. So I think it worked out better that way. Let's see. There was one other thing. Oh, Ridley Scott was actually their first choice to direct the movie. He instead did not direct this movie. He chose to direct Thelma and Louise, which came out in 1991. That's another good movie.
Fair.
Let's see. Bodie's truck. I don't care about Bodie's truck. Let's see. He was in the replacements. Let's see. The Cars. I already did that. Willem Dafoe actually turned down the role of Johnny Utah. I don't know if I put that in here or not.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm glad he didn't get it.
Yeah, me too. Keanu Reeves was the best one for this role. I can't. Yeah. Oh, this is the one I was talking about earlier. Keanu Reeves liked the name of his characters. It reminded him of star athletes like Johnny Unitas and Joe Montana.
Mm-hmm.
Damn right. Joe Montana, the GOAT, son. None of this Tom Brady nonsense. Elizabeth Berkley actually had a small scene in the movie, but it was cut out. I wonder what that scene would look like.
Huh. Okay.
Huh. That is kind of weird. I can't imagine where she would have fit, but this was before Saved by the Bell, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I knew that name was familiar. I didn't place it until you said Saved by the Bell. I'm like, who's that? Who's that? Who's that? Oh yeah.
Maybe I'll do
the one
Tex
with really horrible curly hair.
Yeah, maybe I'll do Tex a favor. We'll just do Showgirls for shits and giggles one night. that way he has a reason just to watch girls dancing around the Vegas stage for no good reason.
Oh boy.
Well, he could have watched the naked
other...
woman like sitting there kicking all kinds of ass in that one that scene when they tried to raid the house. I mean, there was that. That was
true,
wild.
but before we get out of here, let's talk about that final scene, though. I mean, God, how beautiful was it? I mean,
right.
This image right here, I could have this as a poster. You know, I talked about that picture of Clint Eastwood in the rain with the American flag in the background the other day. This could easily be a great poster to have as well. That's what I need to do. I need to just collect 3 or 4 different film images, film screen caps that just look amazing.
And print them out
and put them on the wall. But I don't know. Jeremy, I'll go to you first. I mean, that ending, did it work for you? I thought it was very emotional. I thought it was pretty awesome.
It's kind of wild. It's like, it's nice that that's where it ended up, you know, assumingly like a year later. He's like, well, you know, I was behind you here. I was like a week behind you here. Like I was trying, but it's like, I know exactly where you were going to be though this whole time. You know, he's like, you're not going to pass this up. So it's down to this, man. It's you and me. We're all that's left. He's like, and you're coming with me. That's all there is to it. But it's nice that Johnny Utah, at least he still understands that, like, you know what, man, have your last ride. And he probably knows, yeah, you're not coming out of that one. So, why not let the man have his wish come true? Even though Keanu Reeves looked like he just walked right off the set of freaking Bill and Ted, because all of a sudden his hair was long. But hey, I'm not complaining. He still rocks the longer hair, and even I think Swayze had like a little shorter haircut there. They kind of switched a little bit, which I guess is kind of cool. They did kind of switch haircuts for that scene. Yeah, man, you can't go wrong with a little fight scene, tussle in the fucking rain, on the beach of all places, and it's still, like I said, it's like you still have that little gotcha moment where it's like, haha, got you cuffed. Here come the fuzz. I'm gonna keep those jokes. Here comes the fuzz, man. Heat's coming around the corner, and it's like, man, you let me go. It's like after all that, it's like, yeah, he still kind of is like, all right, you know what, bro, I'll let you have this one. So,
Lady Cora, how about you? What do you think of that final scene of the movie? It was definitely a lot of emotion, but
that's the best part of the movie to me, because it's I mean, he's choosing to die or over going to jail, and in the scene when he shoots the guy in the bank, you know his life is over. Mm-hmm. The second he pulls that shot, in my opinion, that was a poignant moment, and so it brings to a full stop, like, you know, he's gone away this long. They find him in Australia, and he's coming to terms with reality. You see him looking over at the cops as they're coming down this little stairway from wherever parking lot they were all at. And you just see it, you hear it, and you feel it, and you just know he's done. And it takes, yeah. It was moving a little bit. Yeah, it's my favorite. Yeah, I liked it. It's very emotional.
Yeah, it is kind of reminiscent a little bit to that scene in Heat, because, I mean, these guys, he's already chased them through the LA river system. They've already thrown hands a couple of times. So why not have this moment of let's bury this now, because what other time do we have left other than right here on this beach in Australia in the rain to kind of, in a way, say your goodbyes, in a way say, I'm sorry that our relationship has to go this path, but here it is, that kind of thing. Also, it's interesting what, Jeremy brings up, kind of the change in look in both of them. I think it's also kind of a change in outlook. I mean, obviously Keanu Reeves, he's on the lam, so he's got to keep his appearance changing in order to keep from getting caught. But Keanu at this point, I mean, he's had a lot of character growth in the last year or so of movie time, from when the events in LA take place to when he's standing on this beach in the moment with Bodhi. That I think kind of the change in looks is also kind of a change in outlook of these two characters, because I do think that as much as he doesn't want to go to jail, that even Patrick Swayze realizes, like Cora said, in the moment when he pulls the trigger on the one guy, he pushed this to what he didn't want it to be. Patrick Swayze only kills one guy this entire movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the guy in the bank in the last heist.
And he knew it was him or the guy. The guy
he hesitated. He was just kind of like,
I don't
like, you didn't want to have to do that, but that's where it went. So
yeah, so even Patrick Swayze kind of in this moment, he's just like, he knows that it's got to end for him right now. It's either going to end with him trying to go catch that wave, which is probably going to kill him.
Killing the guy all these months from the time that happened. And it's like he's almost like come to terms with, my life's over. I want to go out with a bang. So I have to say this. I don't know what it would be like to go through something like that and to face prison for the rest of my life and wonder what that's like. But that's a heavy moment when you realize you're fucking going to jail for the rest of your life. And I don't know. There's something very Shakespearean about this ending for me. So
also,
a little bit, yeah.
I was gonna say, I guess when the thing that kind of mirrors, like, Patrick Swayze shooting that guy at the end there, he's like, that's where I messed up. Now this whole thing now there's no meaning to this. It's over. I think maybe Keanu had that same kind of moment where he's like, I got you. Like, I've got you dead to rights. It's over for you, man. But he lets him go, and then that's probably why he throws his badge in the water. He's like, they're coming. They're like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Why the fuck did you let him go? So he's kind of like, yeah, they're gonna, he probably turns into Brad Pitt, like, yeah, I've been chewed up before. But he's like, well, screw it. That's kind of it for that. Then he's just like, forget it. Like, maybe that's him kind of clearing the conscience a little bit, maybe for both of them. Just letting him go out, and then he just like, screw it, I'm walking away from this whole ordeal. It's over now, because everyone who's involved with it's probably dead,
except for Lori Petty.
Well,
I bet she's still out there somewhere. It never really addresses where she's at, does it? I'm trying to remember in that last conversation they had if they even mention her character at all.
I don't think so.
I don't think they do either. But yeah, I think it's a very beautiful scene. It is the culmination of these guys' very complicated relationship, and then the decision that he makes in the end. Because I think Keanu, well, the character anyway, I think Johnny Utah knows that he's either going to pay by going to jail, maybe he'll even get the death sentence for his crimes. I mean, I don't know. He did kill a cop, he did rob a bunch of banks, and is complicit in a bunch of other stuff. But he knows that one way or another he pays. Either he pays right now with his life by riding that wave, or he pays for it slowly in a jail cell rotting away somewhere. So I think at this point, Keanu Reeves is just like, he's going to pay the price right now. Why not just let him, as a friendly gesture, why not let him pay the price in his own way, because he's going to pay. So let him try to take this one wave. Then of course you see the wave overtaking him, and the assumption is that he dies. We don't know. Again, we don't know how a sequel would have worked, but yeah, I thought it was a beautiful ending. It was an interesting ending to this complicated relationship with these two men. And
like you said, he's like, I'm not going to do well in a cage, and I think he understood that. He's like, I know you well enough, man. Like, I'm not going to let that happen to you. Like, just go do you.
Well, that, and I think that once they have their little scuffle on the beach and they come out of the water and they're both cuffed together, I think at that point Utah knows, he's like, I've won. I've got my man, whatever, So at this point he's like, I can either I can pass judgment right here, right now by letting him take that wave that I know is probably going to kill him, or I could insult this guy who I actually do like and care about in some weird way by letting him go and go do his thing. Or, it would have been insulting to have gone ahead and arrested him at that point. It would have been shitting on. I mean, because look, you can't argue that Johnny Utah's life has improved or has at least gone a much different way than he expected, but certainly one that he thinks is a positive way.
He figured out more about himself. He's not a straight-laced, FBI Academy recruit.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought it was a fitting ending. I loved it, especially like I said, a lot of symbolism. I love the dark gray tone, the rainy overcast tone of it all. I thought it was a very well shot ending. Cinematography was great, and the whole I don't get the whole throw your badge in the water as you're walking away thing. I don't get the gesture.
I think that was just something they did. I don't know that it makes sense long term, but I think they were trying to have a dramatic moment.
It looks dramatic on camera, but it doesn't really serve a purpose.
Because he's going to get fired for uncuffing the guy.
That's what I was saying. Maybe he just said, screw it, we're both walking away from this.
Done. Like, he uncuffed the guy in front of all of the cops. They went there to extradite him, and he lets the guy go kill himself. He's fucking fired.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe he'd have walked in there and he would have said something to his boss. And,
people have gotten fired for far less. But
there was going to be a sequel, so obviously he wasn't going to get all the way fired. They were going to bring him back into
right.
Yeah.
You know what the sequel would have been? There it is right there. That's why Fast and Furious is a direct ripoff of this movie. The sequel would have been Johnny Utah now has to infiltrate the street racer gang and figure out who's stealing these semis full of electronics. That was the sequel. What do you want to bet? he was going to make friends with some guy named Dom Toretto. Dom Toretto was going to be like family, and that was going to be the sequel. I bet you that was it. Same movie all over again.
To be fair, I was going to mention this earlier. I mean, the ending of Fast and the Furious 1 is kind of the same. It's like they had that little drag race right there across the train track, and then Dom flips his car over, and then Brian just lets him go and gives him the Supra and just lets him take off, and he kind of walks away from it in the end. I'm like, yeah, kind of the same ending. I'm sure the cops were coming, I think, at the end of the movie, and then he just says, yeah, whatever, bye. See you in the sequel.
No doubt.
Then for some reason in Tokyo, but whatever. I'm not even trying to make sense of it.
Yeah, Tokyo Drift didn't really happen. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
We got Han out of it. That's all.
I was like, that's the best part. That's the best part.
We got the only good part of that entire movie. But that seems like a good place to start wrapping things up. Again, Tex will be back tomorrow. I hope he's not caught late at work. While we go over all the stuff in football, Nick Chubb, we'll be talking about that. God, what a terrible injury for Nick Chubb. If you guys saw that injury, it was a bad bit of business. But my thoughts are definitely on Nick Chubb right now. His career might be in jeopardy after that injury. And obviously, we'll go over my 0.12 point loss in one of my fantasy leagues. That's the fantasy gods giveth, the fantasy gods taketh away. I needed 7 points out of Derek Carr last night. I got 6.7 something.
Don't you love that?
And I lost by point.
It's so close. It's like
I lost by 0.12 points.
No, it's like no. Mm-mm.
Because I was watching my scores last night, and Raheem Mostert had a great game, and I had him as one of my flexes. He poured out like 20-something points coming back in the game. At the end of last night, I was like, all I need is 7 points out of Carr. That's 7 points for a quarterback. Quarterbacks average something like 15 to 20 a game. 7 points, all I need. 6.6 something, and I ended up losing the game by 0.12 points.
Damn.
0.12 of a point. The fantasy gods giveth, the fantasy gods taketh away. No doubt, that is not even the worst I've ever done. Several years ago in a fantasy league, I actually tied a guy. And so for a week or two after the game, after that matchup, it showed me and him with a tie. And then the NFL changed something in the scoring, which altered the scoring of the game, and I ended up losing by 2 points. and I missed my fantasy playoffs that year by one game. I would have made the playoffs. I think me and the other guy would have both made the playoffs if that tie would have stood. But because that tie ended up becoming a loss for me, I ended up missing my fantasy playoffs by one game or something like that. That's crazy stuff happens in fantasy football. We're going to be talking about that all tomorrow with Tex. Marcus will probably be on too. And I don't know. Drew might pop on at some point over the course of the year. He said he's going to try. But, me and Marcus and Tex talking fantasy football. It's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow. So come check us out for that. So to wrap things up, Lady Cora, final thoughts on Point Break.
I didn't love it. I didn't really even like it all too much, but I do see the merit of people who love it. And I don't regret watching it again.
Sorry, Cora's wrong about movies all the time. Don't listen to Cora. It's a great movie. You should watch it all the time. Watch it lots of times. Jeremy, final thoughts on Point Break.
Hey, I did say I don't regret watching it again.
That's fair.
Well, there's something. Jeremy, how about you? Final thoughts on Point Break?
Yeah, I'm a Nick Frost fan of this movie. It's a great, 90s or no, I'm sorry. What is it? A no holds barred, adrenaline fueled thrill ride with a lot of paperwork that we don't probably talk about. To put it that way. Yeah, it's a fun movie, man. Like, you can't go wrong with Swayze and Keanu just, being surfer bros and, having your little side gig on the weekends of robbing banks as former presidents. So, it's free on YouTube. It's free on like Amazon Prime. It's free on a couple other things. It's worth a watch for sure.
Yeah, I wish I had thought about it ahead of time. I would have gone online and bought one of the Reagan masks. Would have done the whole show as Ronald Reagan.
You don't know how, but like, there's just something about Nixon, dude. I would have totally fucking come on here.
It's the big nose, huh? It's the big nose.
I don't know. I don't know. And I could sit there all day and talk like that too. Not a crook.
I'm not a crook.
Come on. That's a good sign. If he goes like, I'm not a crook, and pieces out. Like,
yeah, talk about a line that wrote itself. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
History gives us some of the best dialogue. I swear to God it does. But, as for me, again, I mean, the 80s and most of the 90s were great action stuff, but this one, it's something else. You get a little bit more wrapped up in the characters. It's young Keanu Reeves as he's coming out of the shadow of Bill and Ted and some of the goofier stuff that he did when he was younger and getting into some of the more serious roles. You see him do something like this, something like Speed, then eventually onto things like Constantine, and eventually into stuff like The Matrix. Great growth for him as an actor, and this was a very important step for him. And Patrick Swayze, the guy is 100% a first ballot Hall of Famer. So sad that we couldn't get more work out of him, but life is sometimes unfair. Look back on this movie as well as most of his movies, and just enjoy what a great actor he was.
That's a great movie.
We could somewhere down the line. It's a 90s movie. It's right up Jeremy's wheelhouse.
I was joking. That movie is a little bit much for me, especially the pottery scene.
You know what? In all fairness, though, it's got a weird, like, spiritual. There's some horror elements to it that Tex would appreciate. Probably. There's some horror elements to it, like when the shadow demons come and take people to hell and stuff like that. I mean, there's some interesting stuff. I mean, Whoopi Goldberg's funny. Say what you will about Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah.
She's awfully funny in this movie.
She was funny.
There's a lot. There's a lot to talk about. It's a movie that we could touch on at some point in the future. But it's great Patrick Swayze. It's great Keanu Reeves. Gary Busey is just Gary Busey in it. The secondary actors are awesome. Great action that really does hold up. Again, it's starting to look a bit dated. It is 30-something years old, but it's still a great watch. I mean, if you're in the mood for some great Patrick Swayze, I would watch this. Watch Roadhouse. Watch Dirty Dancing if you're into the rom-com stuff. Next of Kin is another great movie that I think Tex would love to talk about one of these days. That's one of my favorite Patrick Swayze films. If you're on a Patrick Swayze binge one day, this is definitely going to be a good movie for you to watch. Let's go ahead and wrap things up. Thanks to my great co-host for being so wonderful, Lady Cora. Where can the folks at home find you on the internet?
Off the internet, here on your show when you have shows.
So she's a ghost too. She's a ghost, man.
She's a ghost.
I'm an AI program, actually.
Well, you're not gonna launch World War III like Skynet, are you?
No. I like
as
people.
Cora,
Very convincing answer.
Entertain me, you human.
She's like, he's onto us. No.
I'm saying she's tucking away her presidential mask now. Like, put that in the box.
They're on to us. We better
Hey.
stop answering their questions.
Maybe that's what she's doing with all this moving around to like 5 different states. I'm like, maybe she's onto something here.
Yeah, she's trying to
Maybe.
avoid detection from the government.
Right.
My hetero life mate Jeremy, where can the folks from home find you on the internet, my friend?
Yeah, on this show. I won't be here tomorrow because I don't sports ball. So I'll be back Thursday for Reservoir Dogs, correct?
Reservoir Dogs on Thursday.
Yes.
I'm going to miss the Niner game. I was thinking about it for a minute. I was like, Niners are playing on Thursday night. I could just sit there and watch the Niner game, but nope, I'm going to miss the Niner game because I want to do Reservoir Dogs. I've been looking forward to this since I put it on schedule. We're going to do it.
Another reason I'm going to be wearing exactly the same thing I wore for The Matrix. I'm going to wear a white shirt, a black tie, and a black suit jacket and sunglasses. Whoa.
I should put on a wig and mess my hair up like Tarantino.
Yeah. I'm trying to I'm like, I don't know what I can do different because they all wear like the same. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something with the colors because they all have, colors as their names. I'm trying to think of something, but I'll get there when I get there. Yeah, that's I'm doing that and still playing Fortnite. When I can, and it's spooky season, when I'm not ripping off my facial hair for the show.
Yeah, I have been awfully busy and have not been able to do any online gaming. Actually, just before we started the stream, I went in there and played like one quick game of Fortnite and got.
I think I saw that. I checked the store and I was like, "Why is Frank on? We're about to go." The hell? Yeah.
I squeezed in one quick game because I just haven't had a chance to play that much the last week and a half or so. I was like, all right, I just want to play one quick game.
I haven't either.
Just so my skills don't erode any more than they already have.
Well, that's why we always call it "We Suck at Fortnite" part whatever. So yeah,
we're up to like part 30 now at this point.
Yeah.
We don't always stream how bad we suck at Fortnite.
Rachel's over there screaming Fortnite. I can hear her clicking in there. I know she's playing Fortnite because I can hear her clicking on her computer. Like trying not to die. Yeah. I'll be there.
Yeah. As for me, you can find me here. Like I said, I'll be here tomorrow with THC Fantasy Football Week 2. Talk about the biggest stories, going over some of the stuff that we think you should be paying attention to in fantasy football. It'll be me, Tex, and probably Marcus again. We had a good conversation last week. We'll probably have another one tomorrow. So if you guys are fantasy football players at all, chime in and give us your questions. We'll try to answer them for you. We'll let you know who on the waiver wire you guys might want to target. I'm about ready to hit the panic button. I'm hitting the panic button on one of my players now. After this week, I kind of have to. I'll talk about that tomorrow, so come check us out tomorrow. Other than that, you can see us back here on Thursday as we review Reservoir Dogs from what year did that come out? 1992. We're going 1 year later than this one. Yeah. To Reservoir Dogs, our first Quentin Tarantino film that we review, I believe. Plenty of Tarantino.
Pulp Fiction. Be fun.
We did Pulp Fiction, did we?
No, so we could do Pulp Fiction. That'd be fun if we could.
Well, we can do all the Tarantino films. I'm down to it. Maybe we'll just make a month out of it. We'll just go with Tarantino film 1 all the way to film whatever the hell he's on now.
I'm so down for that. I think I've probably seen every one of his films. I'm pretty sure.
You could make that like a pre-recorded thing, like a couple-hour stream or a couple-hour thing where you talk about all of his movies.
Maybe. I kind of want to break his movies down one by one. They're all so vastly different films. I mean, his style kind of remains the same, but all those films are also vastly different, from Kill Bill to Reservoir Dogs. He is really a pretty amazing storyteller. But you can find us back here on Thursday, the entire crew, to go over Reservoir Dogs. Until then, thank you guys for coming and hanging out. I very much appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time. Until then, bye.
Bye. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're almost to 500.
Yeah, why throw the badge in the water? It's such a, I don't know, it just wasn't.
I don't know, man. It's art. It's symbolic.
I guess.
Shakespearean drama.
Yeah, but Macbeth never threw her badge in the water as she walked away from Patrick Swayze killing himself on a wave.
No, she